When can we stop thinking about pumpkin tits every minute? The New York Times columnist Gail Collins and Brett Stevens asked a few days ago. As usual with such queries, the correct answer is, what do you mean we? To a remarkable degree, people have already stopped paying attention to the 45th squatter. The past few weeks have offered a preview of what pumpkin tits' post-squattancy might look like. The squatter fulminates at length, plain pundit, but is a practical non-factor in policy discussions. He can still command the affection of millions, meaning his inbreeding rednecks basically, and raise questions of dollars from them, and raise millions of dollars from them. But the balance of the country has already moved on and turned out. And basically tuned out. Basically, Pumpkin Tits' ability to command the news cycle has been eclipsed by the virus that he couldn't be bothered to stop, and the revival candidate who he couldn't beat. Meaning, what they're meaning by that's Biden, because he didn't beat Biden, he lost to Biden. This is not license for the nation to let down its guard. There is still much damage that the outgoing squatter can do and is doing to democratic institutions, governance, and policy. Yet the odd atmosphere over the past few days in which Pumpkin Tits ramped up his rhetoric, yet seems to have an ever more tenuous hold on the nation's attention, represents a shift even from the initial days after November 3rd, when his attempt to steal the election was still headline news. Since Election Day, the orange fuckweasel has focused on just two things: playing golf and trying to claim victory in his contest against Democratic President-elect Joe Biden. With rare exceptions such as the annual Thanksgiving turkey pardon, his schedule has been empty nearly every day. Of the two goals, he has been markedly more successful in the first pursuit. His election-related efforts are sputtering. The orange fuckweasel has watched while state after state certifies election wins for Biden. He has watched as dozens of judges have punted the long-shot lawsuits out of court. He watched as Dye ran down Rudy Kaluti's face in a news conference that was somehow both jaw-droppingly insane and jaw-clenchingly dull. Having exhausted nearly every option, the orange fuckweasel's legal effort has now restored to recycling old failed gambits with the Electoral College meeting on December 14th, and the end is in sight. The relevant description of the orange fuckweasel's role is watching. The squatter has long been an obsessive TV viewer, but without a campaign to run on him with no events on his schedule, there is less to distract him from the tube, and his gripes about faux news and praise for the network's smaller revivals, fake news sites, Newsmax and One American News. The orange fuckweasel still knows where the audiences are, though, which is why he gave his first post-election interview on Sunday to Foe's Maria Bartiromo, fucking sycophant, and Foe News knows where its interests lie, which is why Bartiromo's interview was embarrassingly differential. For a time after the election, the orange fuckweasel was unusually quiet on Twitter. He is now back to feeding his followers a steady diet of false and misleading claims about the election results, though it is difficult to tell whether he really believes his own claims, but is just processing his grief simply. He's basically simply taking advantage of a lucrative fundraising opportunity or some combination thereof. Regardless, the squatter doesn't appear to be taking any concrete actions to try to stop Biden's inevitable inauguration beyond sending tweets and campaign emails. That inaction is keeping up with how Pumpkin Tits has governed throughout his tenure. He never really wanted to be president anyway, and he never really wanted to do any hard work, but was interested in the pomp of the office and the chance to be pundit in chief. As he enters the lame duck period, only the punditry remains. The restaurant business is being absolutely decimated. Congress should step up and help. But time is of essence, he tweeted Friday night, other than perhaps Senate Majority Leader Moscow Mitch. The orange fuckweasel has more power to make this happen than anyone else in the country, but rather than actually try to twist arms and force action on Capitol Hill, he's just firing off scattered thoughts. Maybe GOP senators would just ignore him. The refusal of many Republicans to publicly acknowledge Biden's win and tell Pumpkin Tits to knock it off shows that they're still cowed by him, but their decision to mostly ignore his complaints demonstrates his shrinking muscle. This punditry will likely be the central element of the orange fuckweasel's post-squattancy, armed with his Twitter following and perhaps a cable news show or even channel. Pumpkin Tits will be able to spout off to his heart's content. His words will carry a great deal of weight with his followers, and roughly 3/4 of Republicans say that they doubt the results of the election, even though, or perhaps because, the orange fuckweasel has not laid out a clear explanation as for why the results are fishy. He has managed to raise 170 million, much of which is going toward a de facto Orange Fuckweasel Family Slush Fund. These numbers are nothing to sneeze at, though, as Emily Badger wisely notes, the polls are probably at least in part an expression of partisanship rather than sincere belief. But the material results of his fight against election certification speaks for itself. Just because the Orange Fuckweasel has not managed to steal the election doesn't mean his work to undermine the legitimacy of the results in the system isn't dangerous, as people have written. The things that the squatter and his lawyers are saying are getting worse and wilder, and nor does the squatter's self-pity party preclude him from taking what they call any dangerous steps over the next few weeks, from issuing outrageous pardons to sabotaging the federal workforce to starting a war with Iran. Even so, Pumpkin Tits' diminishing relevance over the past 10 days is a good preview of what to expect come late January. And the Orange Fuckweasel won't go away entirely and quietly, but fewer Americans will listen to or care about what he has to say. They voted with their ballots, and now they'll vote with their attention. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, Rampant Mike, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.